Originally, when I started this program, I came into anthropology. And while I was in anthropology, I learned about the dual program. So initially, when I applied, I was in epidemiology. The reason I picked epidemiology was because in the military for 20 years, I was an analyst. So pretty much everything epidemiologists do, I did for aircraft. And I thought it would be a smooth transition over because I did stats. And then I taught it for 4 years to anybody who entered the military, the Air Force, and was given that job, to both uh, Americans and international students. So after starting the program and seeing what it was, I realized while I did it for 20 years and I was capable of doing it, I did what I had to because that's the job that was given to me. And then I realized this is the opportunity to do what I want. So I evaluated it, but I kept going because that's just my personality. Fast forward in my anthropology program, we had to do what's called a Pathfinder. The instructor gave it to us because in anthropology, sometimes you get stuck in academia unless you can think outside the box in a way to fit yourself into other situations, which is another reason I picked public health, to open up doors for me. And in doing so, we had to interview 3 people who were doing what we wanted and figure out why, how, what they learned, any wise advice. In doing so, I talked to 2 individuals who did like a master's in public health or anthropology and their PhD in the opposite. So while they were both public health and anthropology, they didn't do it together. They did it 2 different degrees. And they talked about the benefits of being able to be in a public health arena and environment and being able to create the stories to the narratives, not just the numbers. Last but not least, I talked to a CEO of a program, and she was an epidemiologist, and she was encouraging me that usually, and at this time, that's when I started thinking, do I want to go to community health or do I want to go to epidemiology? And doing so, she talked about how many people are either really good with numbers or really good with people. And if you're good with the numbers, you're not always good at translating them to the community. So if you have the capability to do both, because in the military, that was my job, I had to get the numbers and then create a briefing for generals, senators, congressmen, 06s, colonels, and make it to where they understand it because they're not analysts. So being able to take complex information and simplify it was my job so that they can make informed decisions for the fleet of the aircraft and the safety of the nation. So I had the ability to do both. And because I had the analytical background and 20 years experience, she was like, maybe you want to consider the community health side. And in doing so, you'll be able to do both because you have the 20 years experience and then the degree in the community health. And I thought that was brilliant. So I wound up transitioning because that was what I wanted. When I was still active duty, I got halfway through an MBA and I was like, I don't want to do numbers. I don't want to do business. I want to use this to help others improve their lives. So like I'm more of a people person. I was great at mentoring, instructing, leading, working with the people. And while I did the numbers, that wasn't my passion. And so I wound up swapping to community health because I wanted to be able to have access to the community and be able to give them information that I was given. And seeing as though the knowledge numbers and the names and the terms might be new, these are lived experience for Black and brown people in their communities. I grew up where my parents are from the projects in Brooklyn, Lafayette Gardens, and my grandfather died of a heart attack. My other grandfather died of a heart attack, and both my grandmothers had cancer. One died, and the other one, when my grandfather died, my parents moved her to where we were. My parents moved to the suburbs, and we were the only Black kids in the building, and the others were my sisters. They didn't hire Black people to work in the schools. They might have been able to do the buses, but not jobs within the facility. And kids weren't allowed to play with us. And so the access to resources, the supermarkets, the doctors, everything was different. So my parents came up to there. They brought my grandmother. When we were taking her to the doctor in Brooklyn, it was, you're getting old, this is part of aging, you just need to retire and give your body a break. And when we brought her to our doctors in the white neighborhood, she had stage 3 colon cancer. So while I didn't understand social determinants of health as far as the terms went, I had a lived experience that a decision that my parents made at 19 and 20 to change the trajectory of 4 different generations. And so where our parents didn't graduate from college, all 4 of us have some level of degree. All 4 of us have some type of career. All of us own homes. And these were things that my parents' generation didn't have. And so being able to use my lived experience, my gained knowledge, my pain, my trauma, my triumphs, my achievements, to find a way to connect with people in the community and show them there are other options, I decided to stick with the community health practices. And here we are.